Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast, our weekly celebration of the student athletes here in our Bayou region, September 22nd. Can't believe that we're cruising right along in this school year, but we are. It is the third week review of all of the high school football games. It is the fourth week preview of those upcoming games. Of course, volleyball going on. We're starting to get into cross country. We talk about swimming when swimming really gets to be a thing. But right now, it's not. They're starting to get those meets together, but it is a big time for volleyball and football. As always, I have my friend here, Stan Gravois, to thank for putting this all together. As always, every Monday, I'm getting a little scared to ask what this Monday is because he always surprises me. So, Dustin, I turn to you. What is this Monday?
I'm going to say happy first day of fall, Stan.
Oh, okay. That's pretty normal.
It's the first day of fall. Can you believe it?
No.
90s outside?
No, yesterday, late afternoon, after trying to sort of consume that Saints game. For anybody out there who is professional football friendly and you like the Saints, I know you're a little bummed today because you're realizing there's a good chance they don't win a game this year. That all being said, I did go outside later in the afternoon, and it feels like an early August day.
Okay, yes.
And unfortunately, that doesn't give you the hint of fall. Now, I do have a lot of neighbors who are into the Halloween spirit, and they have their Halloween stuff up. The only problem is one of them told me, and I thought this was pretty appropriate for the season, talking about it being hot. In the past, they could remember as we get into October, you don't cut grass as much. So when they put out their demons and ghosts and goblins in the yard, they thought this would be a breeze. Now they're realizing they got to go cut grass around all of these demons and goblins and things. So yes, although we are into the fall season, it doesn't feel like the fall, for sure. Want to give you just a little note of congratulations. I know you guys are putting together a big project, a project you're working off sort of the beaten path with Terrebonne General related to Paul Meany and that situation. So you folks who have the opportunity, I know it doesn't drop until a couple of days.
Yeah, it'll be tomorrow, Tuesday. What's the date today?
Today's the 22nd.
22nd. So the 23rd on YouTube, I believe it's on YouTube at 8 p.m. Will be the premiere.
So Paul Meany was a lead singer of a very popular band, not only here in our area, but worldwide, called Mute Math, which Dustin had worked for as a videographer, graphic designer, AKA everything related to the artistic side of it. Although Paul's pretty artistic too.
He is very.
That being said, he is putting together a compilation I would call it post Mute Math.
Absolutely, yes.
And by the way, for you fans who are like, Paul Meany, I'm not sure. If you know who 21 Pilots are, Paul Meany is, I would consider, I don't want to call him the total brain thrust behind it, but
no, he's definitely a co-producer, co-writer with 21 Pilots, yes.
So that's awesome.
And they had the #1 album this week.
Oh, do they?
Real country, yeah.
Well, most people know 21 Pilots, and that lets you know that Paul Meany is big time, right? But his music is what I like more than I like 21 Pilots. There you go. That'll be dropping pretty soon, so we'll be looking out for that. But back to what we do here in the Bayou region. Again, we celebrate all of those kids who are doing terrific things inside and outside the classroom. I want to mention that our 2 students of the month have been picked for our distinguished athlete and our outstanding scholar. But I can't quite tell you yet because they don't know, right? They need to know first. So next week, we'll let you know who they are and sort of celebrate them just a little bit. Again, here in Terrebonne Parish, Terrebonne General is good enough to celebrate a student athlete who has done really well both on the field and in the classroom. And then we thought, why just the kids who are doing well on the fields? Let's celebrate an outstanding scholar who does things well in their community in the classroom, but they may not be in sports particular. So that being said, this morning was the date they were picked. I do know who they are, but again, we're letting them know during the day today. We'll celebrate them at the end of next week, and then on Monday of next week, we'll let you know exactly who they are. And we have two really, really good candidates this year. Like if you want to hire somebody in the future, you want to hire one of these kids for sure, because they're very, very impressive. Football in the area has happened in week 3. It happened this past weekend. There were a lot of good games. We're fortunate we're going to have Casey Gisclair on. He's going to talk to us a little bit about what happened this past Friday night and what is happening this upcoming Friday night, which would be week 4. Man, listen, there's only 10 regular season games. We're already on week 4, so we're getting there. We're just a week shy of being halfway through. And volleyball has still not hit its stride related to being in district play, so we don't want to confuse anybody too much with that. So let's jump into the football right now with Casey and get you caught up on what's been going on. Always happy to have Casey Gisclair with us. You can find Casey at Bayou Sports, BY-U Sports. Go out to Facebook, and it's the easiest way. And on a Friday night or a Thursday night, if you think you might have missed your favorite football game, it might just be there. You might be able to see it. Thanks for all you do with all of that, Casey. Are you doing okay?
Doing fine, man. How about yourself?
I am doing well. Obviously, it was week 3 of football. We're moving into week 4 of football. The contenders and the pretenders are starting to separate just a little bit. And then as soon as I say something like that, I do realize we have some 0-3 teams that we don't know about yet, quite honestly. There might be some years in the past where we did, but I just don't think it's at that point yet. And actually, I hate to be negative, Nancy. We have some 3-0 teams that I don't know if we know about yet either. So we have a ways to go. I do want to present this question, and we did not talk about this before we came on air. We sort of, and I don't know if you have subscribed to it or not, but I'm not gonna. Our friend over at Go Preps always did such a good job of getting us information, and I haven't really been going to that. Have you been going to it at all lately?
Well, I have not, and I actually have news that we can maybe even share here. The LHSA sent an email to media last week where they're releasing all the power rating numbers on their website for free. So not a whole much of a reason to go there anymore.
I agree. It was always sort of the front runner simply
Yeah.
because they had the power rankings and they put the power rankings out. If you really delve deep into it, the LHSAA used to be like every 2 or 3 weeks, maybe they would give you some power rankings or when it was an important time of the year, right?
Yeah.
There's also Louisiana Sports Line, which does it. And it's just the reason I bring it up now is because it's the first time I'm starting to go peek just a little bit because people may be sort of forging their way a little bit into the top 28 or the top 24. And sometimes you start sticking around after the 4th week. You know, you just kind of stay up there some kind of way. So I did allow myself to peek. Have you peeked any?
Of course. I'd be lying if I
God,
said
I wish you wouldn't have, though.
Yeah.
I wish you wouldn't have. I would have just been curious to ask you, especially with some teams that are 3-0 and some that are 0-3, where you thought they might have sort of fell in all of this.
No, yeah, I definitely spent some time Sunday taking a look, and interesting to see an 0-3 team in the top 10 of their classification. Interesting to see some 3-0 teams not even in the opening round at home if the playoffs started today. So yeah, I definitely have done my due diligence there to take a peek at the numbers.
Just a little quick recap of Friday night. Thursday and Friday. HL got the win over Central Catholic. Thibodeau just started to blow the doors off of Assumption in the second half. Ellender better than Houma Christian. The game you were at was probably the most exciting game in all of the area. With South Lafourche with a 42-41 win over rival Central Lafourche. Vanderbilt, no problems with Sulphur. Terrebonne, surprisingly, no problems really with St. James. I saw most of that game before I moved on to Thibodeau. And Hornville, no problems with E.D. White. A little bit surprising there to the ease of that. South Terrebonne, no problems with Hanson. Hanson really down this year, I understand. Alexandria got by Destrehan. But again, that's a Destrehan team that's 1-2, and you just don't know yet. Morgan City. God, I thought Mark was going to get off to a good start this year, and you know St. Ed's is good because you've seen St. Ed's the last couple of years. But I thought they might be 2-0 going into that game. It didn't work out that way. And I do have to mention Patterson got really beat up pretty bad by Catholic of New Iberia, and we have a guy from Terrebonne Parish who's actually coaching that Patterson team, and that is Matt Ford. I think he was thrown into it because their coach kind of left right before the season. Again, you had probably the most exciting game, but an overall view of week 3 for you?
Terrebonne's they're the real deal, man. If you could beat St. James decisively, you are the real deal. And the thing that is most impressive to me is talking to Tyler Lewis before the game. They won exactly the way he said they were going to win. He said, hey, look, we're going to stay close with them in the first half, then we're going to break them in the second half. That's exactly what they did. It was 14-8 at the half, then run. That big bear that they call him, Quincy Adams, 200-plus yards. They got Celestine on the outside. They got a big physical offense and defensive line. And look, they set the tone early in that game. The first drive of the game, St. James has a 4th and 1. They go for it in their own territory. They run an inside zone, and Terrebonne swallowed it. And that just kind of let them know from the get-go, this is not going to be your night. Terrebonne up front with all the athletes that they have, they're dangerous. Now look, Hondo coming to town Friday. That's a different level of good, but Terrebonne is playing at such a high level right now.
I agree. And listen, we always, after each week, we always have that guy, that one. We had been talking about the Mitchell kid from H.L. Bourgeois having a couple of good weeks to start it off. And don't get me wrong, he had another good week against Central Catholic. But this week, I think it was Quincy Adams' turn to sort of take the spotlight, right?
Oh, yeah, he's unbelievable, man. I watch running backs play, and most of the time a running back is running away from the defense. It feels like the defense is running away from Quincy, and he's running into the contact to try to run you over. He's physical. He's a specimen. He's got great breakaway speed. And the crazy thing is that he's making us forget about Celestine, who's a 4-star prospect. So they got a loaded backfield. They got the lightning and the thunder. They got the power and the speed. And, oh, yeah, they got offensive linemen signees all over their roster. So I don't think running the football is going to be too much of an issue for Terrebonne this year.
And the one thing I'll add to all of that is they have a quarterback who is a point guard type guy who can sort of make it all happen. I think it will be a good one. You mentioned Hornville, and I thought Hornville was an interesting one to talk about, a little bit related to the standings right now. Let's call it PowerPoint standings. Let's not call it the overall poll that the LASWA puts out. Hornville's at number 26 right now. I guess maybe those first 2 opponents, and then E.D. White is a 4A team, so you don't get as much. Plus, E.D. White was 0-2. That's not going to stay like that, right?
Well, if it does, somebody's getting a bad draw because they're not the 26th best team in Division I non-select. They're very good. Coach Boyne said, hey, look, last year we were a little run heavy. They worked on their pass game. They're balanced now. They've got Honville-level athletes all over the field. I'll tell you this, if Terrebonne is not facing the number 26 team on Friday, that's a top 10 team. That's a team every bit as good as St. James, if not better. That's going to be another big-time heavyweight slugfest on Friday.
So an opinion from you. Do you believe that high schools, have a home field advantage in high school football?
Anybody who would have been at South Lafourche and Central Lafourche on Friday night and would say no to that, I think would be remiss. I do think it's a thing, man. Especially look around our area right now. One of the things that was honestly a concern whenever we started live broadcasting the games was, man, are we going to hurt these people's attendance? And what has happened, Stan, is people are watching it on YouTube and Facebook and are saying, hey, I want to go to that. And our numbers are good, but the attendance at the stadiums are incredible. Thibodeau sold out their home side. South Lafourche choke. Terrebonne choke. And I really think that it's creating a situation where, there is starting to be home field advantages, and these student sections are getting rowdier and rowdier. And I do think it's making a difference. I really do.
I do think, and I'll give a lot of credit to the student sections.
Yeah.
I've seen more student section participation. I also think that sort of drags along parents and grandparents too. So when I left the Terrebonne game, I headed up north and stopped in at John L. Goodrich Stadium to sit with Randy Bouquet, the athletic director at CCA, and looked up in the stands and said, "Oh my God, y'all made some money tonight." And he said the one thing that they do, and I think you could do this probably at a single and double A school, you get so many kids involved. They have their dandelions. They're all housed in the same school. By the way, dandelions is the elementary dance team. So all of a sudden you got mom and dad going, and now it becomes pageantry. And I see that coming back. I see the bands being bigger and better than they were
Yep.
in the past. And quite honestly, I'm not naive enough to believe that there are a lot of band parents who are up there too. A lot of people who, frankly, don't care that much about the football game, but they're there for the pageantry. So I would agree with you 100%. I say that related to Terrebonne being at home again this week with Hornville. So they have two in a row. Last year it was a tough schedule for them because they were on the road for a lot of these big, tough games, right? And this year they'll have Hornville in town. So that'll be a really good one. And it's the start of district, right? For a lot of schools. Probably, I would imagine, and I hate to shoot arrows into these things because I know all of those schools are going out there and they're fighting hard. But Vanderbilt's got Morgan City, right? E.D. White's got Ellender this week. So you look at those games and go, on paper, it could get a little bit out of hand, right?
Yeah.
But then you look at South Lafourche and South Terrebonne, who's still, I think, fighting an uphill battle related to getting some kind of depth. South Lafourche, who I think has sort of reached it, but this is where, hey, okay, we got to show it in district play. So I think that might be the game in 8-4A, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one, man. You're facing a South Lafourche team that has got their offense going right now, man. They are humming. They did not punt against Pearl River. They only had one punt against Central Lafourche. So really, they are doing a great job, and it's a pick your poison. If you load up the box, Josh Mack is going to throw the football, and he's got weapons all over the field. If you spread the field to try to slow down Petrie and Jarvis and those guys, then Meathead's going to run 30 times and get 200 yards like he did on Friday. On the South Terrebonne side, though, they're starting to get a little vibe and a little belief there, man. That win against CCA did something for them. They come back and get a big win against Hanson. The thing with South Terrebonne is going to be they're going to be facing an opponent for the first time this season that is going to be able to match them in terms of roster size and depth and everything like that. So it'll be a good ball game on Friday. Add a little extra wrinkle. It's homecoming down the bayou on Friday, so it should be an interesting night.
Well, we mentioned that in 8-5A, obviously Hornville and Terrebonne was going to be a big one. I think H.L. Bourgeois has the opportunity to keep on rolling. They take on Patterson. They're not stockpiling PowerPoint ranking points. As a matter of fact, as I look at it now, H.L. Bourgeois sitting at 27, and that's because they're playing some single A competition. But you got to win.
Yep.
I do not fault any of these coaches for the way they set up schedules because you have to know your team, right? You have to understand what you can do. So that being the case, I think another great chance to win, but also a great chance to start district after next week and be on a high.
100%. And to the point you just made, yeah, you have to know your team. You also have to know your district, too. If I'm Sterling, Washington, I'm saying, okay, well, wait a minute. I got to play Honville, Destrehan, Terrebonne, Thibodaux. I'm finding me some wins in non-district for sure to make sure that my kids get some confidence. So, yeah, it's going to be in 5A. It's going to be tough because I tell you what, I saw Central Lafourche Friday, and I get it, they're 1-2, but I think that's a pretty good football team. I saw Thibodaux, they're 3-0. We're not talking a whole lot about them. They're a good football team. Talked about Terrebonne. Honville's great. Destrehan's great. Like our 5A district got some teams that could really, really go.
Yeah, I mentioned that about H.L. Bourgeois. Thibodaux is in a situation to ball up some wins here early on.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, Destrehan and Terrebonne are their last two games of the year. So that being said, we could see a very, very good Thibodaux team jumping in the mix with all of those other teams as time move on. And obviously you start to believe in your head coach. And you mentioned Thibodaux sold out the home side of their stadium, which is a pretty big stadium, by the way.
Yep.
And all of that being said leads to some good things. I saw CCA for the first time live on Friday night. They've got some guys, they have they can match anybody skill position wise, not depth wise, but I'm talking about the guys you sort of threw out there at the beginning. And when I saw that, it actually made me think, well, South Terrebonne might be a little better than I thought they were because CCA certainly was against Episcopal. They could have named that score in that game. But all of a sudden we're turning and we're seeing Jeanerette. And I don't know what Jeanerette's starting to put together out there, but they're beating some good teams by a lot. So I would imagine if you're a CCA fan, it might be you and Jeanerette when it's all said and done, or am I leaving out Central Catholic a little bit early?
I think on paper it would be CCA and Jeanerette. I mean, I wouldn't discount Central Catholic because they run that veer, and any one game, if they control the ball, they could shorten the game on you. But man, you're right. Jeanerette is playing at a high level. I haven't had a chance to physically get my eyes on them yet this year, but you see the scores, and it's so impressive. The thing on the CCA side, and we've talked about this throughout the course of the season, is it's got to be so frustrating because yes, they are so good, but they're missing so many key pieces still yet. So it's like, yeah, we're 8.5 out of 10, but if we had everybody, my God, how good we would be. But they're making it happen even through some of the injuries, even through the adversity. Jess has still got one heck of a football team.
One team we hadn't talked about is Houma Christian, and we certainly want to shed light on everybody from the Bayou region. It was a tough loss to Ellender. By the way, a huge congratulations to Aaron Butler getting his first win at Ellender. And I think when you start to look at District 8 4A, Ellender, considering that Morgan City's there and they're struggling just a little bit, Assumption struggling just a little bit, South Terrebonne, not a lot of depth. There could be some way that Ellender, I don't want to say makes a little noise, but obviously has a positive season this year. And a little bit of that was at the expense of Houma Christian this past week. I don't know if I expected it to get to be that kind of score. It was 48-3 at the end. But Houma Christian's got some tough games coming up. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah, look, they're a situation where they're a little younger. And I'll tell you this, if you're a Houma Christian fan, this would be my biggest thing that I would say to kind of ease people's concerns maybe a little bit. I was at the Terrebonne Parish Jamboree for the middle schools. Houma Christian had as good of a team as I've seen of anybody in the middle school ranks. So reinforcements are coming. The present right now maybe isn't as good. You get beat up by Ellender a little bit. You're younger. You don't have quite as much depth. But let me tell you, they're super excited about their young pieces. If it's a down cycle, it's not going to be a down cycle for much longer.
Very good. So an overview of week 3. That's what we just talked about and what's coming up this week. Just real quickly, by the way, I mentioned Vanderbilt was going to be at Morgan City and E.D. White was going to be at Ellender. Thibodaux and Central Lafourche is a big one. Central Lafourche they've been on that cusp for the last 3 years, just trying to get by or maybe looking for consistency. Can it happen this week? Can they put it together?
Absolutely. To look, Central Lafourche is not a bad football team, man. They got that Cleveland kid under center. He could do unbelievable things. Look, he started his career and he's been fighting injuries, but the beginning of his career, he was just an athlete back there. He would get the snap and he'd just be looking to run. It's Friday night, what we saw, he could throw. And not only can he throw, he's got some weapons. So, look, their defense is a little lacking. But if they find a way to get a couple of stops here and there, Central Lafourche could absolutely jump up and bite some of those teams because South Lafourche is actually happy with their defense, and Central Lafourche carved them up on Friday night.
Hornville going to be at Terrebonne. We talked about that. H.L. Bourgeois going to be at Patterson. By the way, Patterson had lost to Como. That was Como's first win in like 6 years, so that's definitely not good. Houma Christian going to be at Hannon this week. Hannon is not the Hannon of a few years ago. I think if Covenant Christian wins this game, I think they go 9-1. I don't know, Jeanerette might be tough, Central Catholic, but yeah, we'll talk about that when it comes that time. Assumption, you're having a tough year, and then you got to go to Lutcher this week.
Yeah, Lutcher team that's also 1-2 and is trying to make a statement that they're still Lutcher, so it's going to be tough for Will and his guys for sure.
Yep, South Terrebonne, obviously at South Lafourche. I think if there's a 1A and 1B, it's Hornville and Terrebonne, South Terrebonne and South Lafourche, because district does start now. Houma Christian going to be at West St. John. I know West St. John got blasted by St. James, but on that level, West St. John is better than they have been in probably 5 or 6 years. St. James and Ponchatoula.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah. Hanson is going to be playing Berwick. That'll be a good one, but those teams are lacking athletic, overall talent. And Bunky's going to be at Central Catholic. That's interesting. Bunky usually has a pretty good program. Your week, what's your week look like?
Middle school football in the middle of the week, following them and broadcasting some of their stuff. And then Friday night, we got another triple header. It's going to be pretty much, if you're ranking the games locally, I think we got the top three. We got South Lafourche and South Terrebonne. We got Terrebonne and Hanville. We got Thibodaux and Central Lafourche. So we're going to be live. It's going to be a triple header, and can't wait, man. It should be an awesome week of action for sure.
Very good, and I enjoy the middle. Not that I sit, and I'll be the first to admit, sometimes I can't sit and watch the entire middle school games, but I love to watch and then go back to catch certain parts of it, because it gives you an idea what's coming up. And no matter what you think, you could watch collegiate ball and you can watch pro ball. They don't work in cycles like high school football does. And when I watch these games, I think of the cycles that might be coming up at some of these schools. And it leads you to either get excited or maybe a little worried about some of the schools. So I'll ask you this, and we'll leave it with this. You mentioned Houma Christian, you think is going to get into a decent little cycle with their middle school. Who else do you see out there that you're looking at their middle schools going, oh my goodness, watch out?
Central Lafourche, baby. Raceland's 2-0.
I've heard that.
Lockport's 2-0.
Everybody is talking about that, not only from just this year, they going back to last year too, going, watch out, Central Lafourche has got some guys coming up. Is that right?
I'm telling you, look, they got some ninth graders right now that they're excited about. And Raceland and Lockport both right now are 2-0. They both have wins against E.D. White under their belt. Central Lafourche, if they could keep those kids together in the next 2, 3, 4 years, look out. They got some kids, man.
And listen, that's a key to it too. You got to keep the kids together.
Yep.
But it is interesting to see that along the way. And I kind of keep up with those scores going, who's coming up. We were talking about South Lafourche just the other day, and a friend of mine made the comment. He says, well, the Dardar kid. I said, he's a senior. He said, the Mac kid. I said, he's a senior. He said, well, the Petrie kid. I said, he's a senior. He said, the Jarvis kid. I said, he's a senior. And listen, that's all the athletic. That's the really skill position guys. And I realize it's deeper than that. But when you start realizing you got to get that cohesion. There's only one school, in my opinion. Terrebonne just kind of, it's like every year they got all of this stuff that they kind of get together. But that being said, that's interesting. I'm going to mark that down. Central Lafourche in 2 years. Watch out, huh?
Look out, dude. If they could keep it together, I promise you they're going to start to be on the ups, man.
Thank you for everything you do. People go out and check out Bayou Sports. Go to the group chat and check those guys out doing their podcast. And when I say they, you guys doing your podcast. And I did notice that y'all were down, or you were specifically down at the fundraiser for, and listen, I got to say this. Schools don't make it unless they have these fundraisers, right? Their athletic departments can't sustain on just what they make out of gate. Go out and support. If you're an alum and your school is having a golf tournament, go play. And I'm not sure that was specifically what that one was about, but that's the only way you make it happen, right?
100%, man. Look, we had a great weekend down there at Tidelands. Guys are going out playing golf, and even if you didn't play golf, just come out, get a plate lunch, and just support, man. It's like a class reunion. You get a chance to see people you haven't seen in a while, and yeah, it was a great time. All the schools, like this past weekend, South Terrebonne had an alumni softball tournament. If your school's got something like that and you got the means to support, do it, because it really does make a difference. This past weekend's golf tournament benefited the South Lafourche Quarterback Club. Well, what do? They fund pretty much a lot of the athletics department, things in sports at South Lafourche High School. Bought the football team a huge igloo tent so that in the summer when it's hot, the kids could cool off. Like, that money goes right back to your local programs. Like, it's invaluable.
I agree. Golf tournaments, shrimp dinners on Friday afternoons. Do all of that because you got to eat anyway, right? So support
makes a difference.
It does. It certainly does. Thanks for everything. We'll hook up hopefully again next week.
Can't wait.
As always, nice to have Casey with us. Again, Bayou Sports is where you can go get the latest. He does a good job with their podcast that they do, which is called The Group Chat. It's he and a bunch of his friends from down the bayou. You ever thought I would say that? Down the bayou. We're sitting down the bayou, so they're even further down. There's always a further down the bayou, I
Yes.
think. Yep.
Till you get to the Gulf, and then
Till you get to the Gulf. And then I think once you get down to South America, they have their own down the bayous and things like that too.
sure.
Always good to have Casey on. He's good insight. And again, he does this on a daily basis, 24/7. That's his job. I mean, that's what he does. While Dustin and I do multiple things and always want to care for the student athlete in the area, what Casey does is a business. And that business is to promote the kids in the area through, I would call it daily activity, but it's actually minute activity. Every minute he's always searching and finding out and going online and sort of scrolling and finding out what he can. So again, go out to Casey to get the best of that. Looking forward to next Monday. Why, you might ask? Because I'm curious to see what Dustin's going to have for the Monday day of the week next Monday. Today was bland.
I apologize, but hey, it's every once in a while you get a big one, right? It's the first day of fall, and it happens to fall on a Monday. So
Yeah, but I mean, I was expecting some kind of like, I don't know, dog shedding day or something like that. Just something out of the blue. So next week I challenge you.
next week,
Something that'll have me drop my jaw.
Right.
And tell me.
it'll be wacky.
That's good. That's good. We're also going to try and get Bobby Arsenault around from Terrebonne Parish Recreation to get caught up on what all of the kids are doing there, because they have a great program there also. Got to sign off. We'll be back again next Monday. Hope you are too. Take care, everybody.